Great. I'm super excited to be back on my YouTube channel. And in today's session, I am taking the opportunity to explain the impact of the F1 visa validity being reduced from 4 years to just 3 months, so that you have a better understanding if you are now coming to the US, if you're already in the US, and if you are going to work on OPT in the United States. So you can still stay in the US legally for your entire study duration or program duration with an expired visa. So you get in with a visa which is valid from, let's say, August 2025 through to November 2025. You are still valid to be in the United States without renewing your visa for your entire study duration. But there's a caveat there that we'll need to talk about, because that will depend on you, the individual, and your behavior, right? Whether you want to you want to go out and visit friends in Canada or visit people outside the United States. The second point is that the visa is required mainly for travel. And so if you are not going to travel outside the United States, you don't need to renew your visa. As long as you want to travel outside the United States during your program duration, then you will need to renew your visa. And the last point, which is most important here, is that, which is what people are talking about on YouTube or on other social media platform, is that your visa validity does not equate or is not equal to your legal residence in the United States. And the main reason people say that is that your stay in the US is actually controlled by your I-20 and not your visa. So as long as your I-20 is valid, you don't need to renew your visa. So as I was saying in the previous slide, as long as you're not going to travel outside the US, you don't need to renew your visa. But the most important thing is that it depends on your behavior. For instance, if I come into the US and I want to stay in the US for 2 years, which is my program duration, but I would love to travel to Canada or Mexico or any part of the world outside the United States, I will definitely need to renew my visa. And I always want to keep my visa valid. So anytime it expires, I want to renew it. The good thing is that there's a visa renewal program where you don't need to necessarily go for a visa interview again. And that is where we need to clarify one or two things. People saying, hey, you will need to get outside the US, go and renew your visa, come back and continue your stay. Do you know one thing that I think about that statement that people made on YouTube or on other social media platform? Is really true, depending on you, the individual. And it is false, depending on you, the individual. But at what point is it true? It is true if you are not going to renew your visa in your home country. So for instance, my program duration is 2 years. My visa is just 3 months. It has expired and I want to renew it. But I don't want to renew it in my home country. I want to renew it in Canada or in Mexico. I will need to get out, book an appointment for visa interview, and then go for the interview. I will definitely get out, renew the visa, and come in. So in that situation, it is true. Now, in another situation that is really not true is you can also renew your visa without going outside the United States. So that could be done through the visa interview program, where you will need to submit all your documentations to the US Embassy in your home country, and you can now renew the visa without going for any interview. At this point, you don't need to get outside the United States. You can submit your documentation to the US Embassy in your home country, and you can actually renew the visa, which is the most important thing, right? The second point is you actually risk your re-entry into the US when you travel. The point is, as long as you travel, you will need to renew the visa. And as long as you travel, you will need the visa to re-enter. So if you are getting outside the United States, let's say I'm here and I want to go to Ghana in December, nobody cares about me and nobody cares about my visa. But if I go to Ghana in December and I want to come back to the US, I would definitely need a valid visa. And when I'm coming to the US, it is not automatically determined that at the port of entry people would allow me to enter. So you really risk re-entry when you travel. Now, the most important thing I want to capture here as part of the disadvantages is trouble during your OPT. So currently I work on an OPT. If I want to travel outside the US, I definitely need a valid visa. And that is where it is very important that you keep your visa valid all the time. So if I'm working with a multinational company, right? And I want to travel outside the US for the purpose of job. Let's say we are going for just 2 weeks or 1 week job specific assignment. I'll definitely need to be on a valid visa before I can go outside the US and re-enter the US. So you need to know what you need to do. And everything depends on your lifestyle as an individual, and depends on the method you would want to use to renew your visa. And I would tell whether you should get outside the US or you don't want to get outside the US for that purpose. And basically, somebody can also choose that I will never renew my visa as long as my I-20 is valid. In that case, you don't have any issue at all with visa renewal. Advantages for shorter visa validity, as I'm talking about now. The first thing is that the visa validity is not equal to your legal residence in the US. So if your visa expired, it doesn't mean you are illegal in the US. That is the first thing you need to keep in mind, and that is one advantage. So if I have a visa today and I come to the US, I don't need to renew the visa to be valid. I am valid in the US as long as my I-20 is valid, and that is a very good thing, right? Now, if I don't travel, there's no need me renewing my visa. So if I'm in the US, as I said, just like the first point, and I don't want to travel anywhere, then I don't need to renew my visa. Now, finally, this is not for a student, it's for the US immigration service. So they have a better immigration control on you, right? So as long as your visa is just 3 months valid and you want to renew it, and you are going to renew it frequently, the US immigration system is definitely going to have that kind of immigration control to know whether you didn't do anything illegal in the US, you didn't do anything wrong during your stay in the US. And then it forces real-time student monitoring, so they get the opportunity to actually monitor you as an international student. And finally, you international student having just 3 months of validity visa, you definitely wouldn't want to do anything to misuse your F1 status in the US, which is super great. This is an advantage. Let's have a typical case example here, a Ghanaian student, to analyze whatever we have spoken about now. So first, assuming you are a Ghanaian student, you got your F1 visa for 3 months in August 2025, and your program duration is 2 years. So you are going to be in the US for 2 years, so that is 2025 through to 2027. One, depending on your lifestyle, if you don't want to renew your visa, if you don't want to travel, if you don't want to go outside the United States, there's no need renewing the visa, so you can stay through to 2027 as long as your I-20 is valid. You are also valid in the US. There's no need renewing the visa. But if you plan to leave in December 2025, where the visa has expired, the visa is not valid anymore, then you will need to renew the visa. Now, the point is, if you are going to renew your visa, it is not automatic that your visa will be approved. So you also risk a refusal of your visa. And that is where people will say that, hey, there's no need renewing the visa as long as your I-20 is valid. But if you are somebody like me and I love traveling or going outside the United States, or even just having a valid visa all the time, you probably would want to renew your visa. So this is a typical example of a Ghanaian student. Great. Let's look at the summary of what we have covered in this video. Right? So expired visa doesn't mean you are illegal in the US. The second thing is short visa affects travel. It does not affect your legal residence in the US. So if your visa is 3 months, it does not affect you staying in the US. But as long as you want to travel outside the US, it will definitely affect you. You will need to plan wisely during holidays and OPT period. So if you're an OPT and you work for multinational company, you definitely would want to renew the visa because you don't know when you may be required to travel outside the US. However, when your visa has expired and you are required to travel outside the US, you definitely can communicate to your company that your visa has expired and you don't want to travel outside the US. You can assist the team whilst you stay in the US. It is legal to have a 3 months period of visa validity. The only thing is that it is a bit harder on international students at this point because you need to renew the visa frequently depending on your lifestyle. And you can always renew your visa by submitting your documentations to your home country through the visa interview waiver program without going back to your home country. However, if you also plan to renew a visa outside your home country, then you may want to go out, or you may need to go out and come back to the US. So this is a short video that I want to do and put on my channel just to explain to my audience how they are being affected as international students on this visa updates coming from the Department of State in the United States. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time. And I will entreat you to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you get a notification anytime a video is uploaded to the YouTube channel.